Hey my friends, today I'm going to explain a weird new movie called The Gorge. And trust me, this one is absolutely insane. You'll see why in just a moment. Let's dive in. The movie begins deep inside a dark cave. A woman wakes up, her gaze distant. She scribbles the number of days in her notebook, then brushes her teeth when the sound of an engine startles her. It's a jet landing on a private airstrip. She switches to alert mode and pulls out her sniper rifle, the Barrett M82. Aboard the jet is a high-profile figure from Belarus, likely an opposition leader. When the man steps out of the private jet, the woman engages the target and fires a shot from 2,500 meters away. The bullet hits him square in the forehead. Then she picks up the spent shell casing, confirming the kill. Elsewhere, a man wakes up from a nightmare and heads to the Marine Corps base. Once on federal property, he enters a woman's office. She asks if he knows her.
Do you know who I am?
No.
She calls herself Agent Bartholomew. His name is Levi, and his voice sounds like he swallowed Sylvester Stallone for breakfast.
Judging by your age, appearance, and a Marine colonel just followed your order without a yip, guess you're some kind of...
Reading his service record, we learn Levi comes from a military family. He is an elite sniper with 113 confirmed kills, each exceptionally difficult. Add nearly 100 unofficial kills to that.
113 confirmed kills, 81 probable kills.
When she asks if the number is accurate, he answers proudly.
Are those numbers accurate? Are the actual numbers fewer or greater?
No, greater.
That puts him just behind legendary sniper Chris Kyle. After retiring, he took private contracts. But now he's bound by no obligations. He's always ready to work with the Marines, but refuses contracts. The reason? A military psychologist deemed him unfit for service. He has no girlfriend, no family, no one to worry about him. He avoids all substances, anything that could affect his accuracy. Agent Bartholomew is intrigued. Levi could have appealed the psychologist's decision, but never did. In fact, he sees little point in most things. She offers him a contract for a top-secret mission. She isn't just an agent. She's a high-level spook. Across the ocean, in a cemetery in Lithuania, the sniper we've seen before enters with a pack of beers. An old man plays on an accordion as she approaches. Her name is Drasa, which means courage. Today is Memorial Day for her mother, and they always meet at her grave. She hands him the spent shell casing from her last assassination. He places it in his wallet. With how full it is, it's quite a record. Turns out the old man is her father and a former KGB agent. Her father mentions rumors that she was filmed by a drone during her last contract to eliminate the Belarusian oligarch. The daughter admits it was a tough job. The man she killed had 4 children, but her father reminds her the oligarch had sold phosphorus bombs and anti-personnel mines. You can't count the number of children who lost their health or lives because of him. He asks Drasa to stay with him for a couple of weeks. She is not in good spirits after taking so many lives. However, she explains she's already received orders from Moscow for another secret mission.
Rabinovich has ordered me to a briefing first thing tomorrow morning in Moscow. He says I'll be going dark for at least a year.
Her father doesn't like it. After all, she's Lithuanian, not Russian.
The hell with Rabinovich and the hell with Moscow. You're not Russian, you're Lithuanian.
He is dying of terminal cancer. He doesn't want to die in pain, so he decided to take his own life. He asks her, wherever she may be on February 14th, to light a candle for him, look at Orion, and say goodbye. In an airplane, Levi wakes up from anesthesia. He collects his gear and asks for his location. An agent gives him instructions and explains that she's not allowed to share this information. Ahead lies a restricted zone his plane can't enter. To reach his post, he must travel on foot 38 kilometers north. They take away his personal belongings and watch but give him a sealed envelope containing the mission details. When the hatch opens, Levi jumps. After a dive worthy of Tom Cruise, he lands in a menacing clearing. Then, he crosses the snowy hills, the steep cliffs, and finally reaches his destination after hours, the Gorge. He's greeted by a British commando.
Jasper D. Drake, Royal Marines Commandos. Just call me JD.
Jasper seems happy to see someone after spending a whole year there alone. His tour rotation officially ends at midnight. Levi admits he knows nothing about the mission, not even which country he's in. Jasper can't reassure him. He's in the same predicament.
It's messed up, right? But that is just the tippity top of the iceberg. I've been here an entire year and I have no idea where I am.
The commando leads him to a watchtower. There's also an east observation post. Levi will be tasked with guarding the West Tower for the next year. The tower is fully autonomous, equipped with solar panels, a generator, and rainwater collection. An identical outpost stands across the ravine, belonging to the Eastern Bloc. Levi can't get there. The slopes are mined and filled with traps. No contact is allowed. The work here is simple, suited for a qualified technician. Levi's tasks include daily patrols of the western border, checking fortified defense points. A connection with the outside world happens every 30 days. Satellite transmitters along the border send false signals to shield the gorge. This place is invisible to spy satellites and reconnaissance drones. There's no communication with the outside world. JD mentions that in a worst-case scenario, a panic button will alert the high-level spook. If the satellite cloaking system fails or the gorge is overrun, the system will activate the stray dog protocol. JD has no idea what that entails, but if Levi ever hears sirens, his best option is to run as far as possible.
Stray dog protocol. What is that?
No idea. But if you hear those air raid sirens, you run like hell.
A year ago, when Jasper arrived, he thought his predecessor had lost his mind. They suspect it all ties back to the Cold War. Every year, a soldier from the West patrols this side while someone from the East monitors theirs. It has been this way for 75 years. The secrecy runs so deep that even the most recent US and Russian presidents are unaware of its existence. No one knows what's truly inside the gorge. The primary mission is to ensure that whatever lurks within never gets out. Their shift change is over. Jasper departs for the pickup point, where a helicopter is scheduled to retrieve him. Soon, the aircraft appears, lowering a cable. He hooks on, ascending into the sky. But just as he nears the cabin, he's asked to confirm his identity. The moment he does, the mercenary immediately draws his weapon, fires, and sends Jasper plummeting back into the woods. He then radios Bartholomew.
Rotation complete.
Copy that.
A month drifts by. Levi methodically carries out his duties, patrolling the perimeter, inspecting weapon stockpiles, ensuring the minefield is intact. He reports back to command, confirming all systems are operational. In his downtime, he reads. The tower holds a vast collection of books. Occasionally, he scans the walls, noticing old inscriptions left by past sentinels. One afternoon, he hears a faint buzzing noise. Through his binoculars, he spots a woman across the gorge. Drasa, focused on her task. She briefly glances toward his outpost, trying to catch a glimpse of the new sentry. But when he steps back from view, she resumes her work. That night, Levi jerks awake from another nightmare. Instinct kicks in. He grabs his rifle. In the chaos, he knocks over a glass. Pain surges through his foot. He stepped on the shards. The trail of bloody footprints snaps him back to reality. While cleaning his foot, he notices that Drasa is still awake and watching him. But when she catches him watching, she snuffs out her candles and retreats into the darkness. Another month passes. Drasa marks her birthday in solitude. Soon after, boredom creeps in. She starts observing Levi, studying his routines. Then, on a whim, she decides to have some fun. She fires a shot into the air. Levi immediately grabs his binoculars. When he locks onto her position, she holds up a sign, asking for his name. Levi writes back that they aren't allowed to talk, so Drasa responds. She writes her name saying she'll do whatever she wants on her birthday. An amused Levi laughs and replies with his name too, then suggests they have a drink in her honor. The woman then turns on music and asks him to dance along, but Levi writes he has no idea how to dance. He insists he's a terrible dancer, but an amazing sniper, so Drasa shoots his water bottle. In response, he ruins her bottle of wine with a single shot. She grins, places another bottle on her head, and challenges him to keep going, but suddenly loses her footing. Startled, she freezes and gestures for him to check below. Something moves in the gorge. When Levi looks down, he spots eerie figures made of twisted branches, climbing his side of the wall. Without hesitation, he fires, hitting one and sending it crashing onto a mine. The explosion takes out several others. However, more keep climbing. Levi keeps shooting while Drasa joins in with her machine gun. They work together, cutting the creatures down in minutes. Just when they think it's over, one reaches Drasa's balcony. The monster looks like a cross between a human and a tree. She fires multiple rounds before kicking it off the edge. Then, more start scaling her side. The snipers switch back to suppressing fire. A second wave of monsters surges up the gorge with twice as many hollow men. Levi does his best to cover Drasa, but when he kills a monster, it falls onto a mine. The blast sends shrapnel into Drasa's shoulder, and she falls. As the creatures cross the lasers, auto turrets fire non-stop. For several minutes, gunfire echoes through the night until all the monsters go down. Levi stands guard all night, watching over Drasa. By dawn, Drasa cleans her wound and writes that she had her best birthday ever. After the attack, Levi busies himself replacing the mines and reloading the automatic turret batteries. Drasa covers him from a distance. Suddenly, a drone emerges from the void of the gorge. It hovers for a moment, scans the surroundings, and Levi stares at it, surprised. Then the drone speeds away, leaving Levi perplexed. In December, Levi decorates a forest tree with lights to create a Christmas effect. He also sets up a sign for Drasa. From then on, they share activities like making snowmen, playing chess, and drumming on pots. On February 14th, Levi finds Drasa crying in front of a family picture. He asks why she skipped patrol, and she admits she's struggling. She wishes he were there with her. The next morning, Levi gets a brilliant idea. At the armory, he starts opening crates like a madman. Tired of waiting, he builds a strange contraption using a rocket after removing the warhead and several rolls of rope. From her tower, Dresa spots him through her binoculars and thinks, "What the hell is he doing?" Once he's done planting makeshift pillars and tying off the ropes, Levi grabs the launcher. Dresa finally gets it. He takes aim and fires the rocket across the gorge. It flies, hits, and lodges into a tree on the other side. Dresa bolts out, slides down like a firefighter with an extinguisher in hand to put out the flames and secure the rope. She wraps it tight around the tree before racing back to the tower, where she finds Levi waiting, inviting her to dinner. On his side, Levi shaves off his beard, then runs straight for the gorge. He picks up speed and leaps. Levi slides down the rope, but gets stuck midway. He miscalculated the tension on the line, so he must continue by climbing hand over hand to reach her tower. Finally, he arrives with a bouquet of wildflowers and says her eyes are green. Anyway, she jokes that he stinks from the effort, so Levi agrees to shower. While he washes, Dresa swaps his uniform for clothes left by a former occupant, but teases him by hanging them a bit too far from the sauna, forcing him to run around naked to get dressed. During dinner, they discuss their mercenary pasts and the psychological toll of the job. They wonder where they actually are. Both were drugged during transport, so neither has a clue. Levi says one thing's for sure. They're somewhere in the northern hemisphere.
Somewhere in the far northern hemisphere, though.
How can you be so sure about that?
The seasons. It was early fall when I left the States. It was still fall when I arrived.
Dresa then asks what Levi's record for kill shots is.
Come on, don't say that you don't know. What's the longest kill shot you've ever made? Every top shelf sniper knows the distance of every ticket they've ever punched, so...
When Levi answers,
3,241 meters.
she stares at him with new eyes, a little impressed, a little annoyed he didn't say it earlier. Not surprisingly, Levi takes the discussion into slightly more personal territory.
You know what I keep thinking about night after night while I sit over there on that platform?
How are you gonna get to my pants?
And, by the way, how are they still dressed like it's brunch in Paris when they're stuck in the middle of nowhere? That night, they share a dance before ending the night together. At dawn, Levi says goodbye to Dresa and slides back to his tower. As he moves, hollow men appear on his wall and trigger a mine explosion, severing the rope. Levi falls but quickly deploys his parachute. Panicked, Dresa grabs weapons, straps on a parachute, and leaps into the gorge after him. But she lands in a river within her parachute gets caught on a rock, forcing her to cut herself free. The current drags her downstream, slamming her into a rock. The impact makes her drop the auto-ascender. The river keeps pushing Dresa, but she grabs tree roots and pulls herself onto land. Meanwhile, Levi dangles unconscious from a tree. A nearby branch moves, revealing itself as a monster. As it crawls toward him, Levi wakes up and begins shooting while cutting himself loose. He crashes onto what seems like mud, but the surface shifts. It's actually the mouth of another creature. A thick adhesive substance traps Levi, slowly pulling him into its jaws. Dresa hears the gunfire and rushes to help. She opens fire, saving Levi before the monster can devour him. Using a knife, she scrapes the sticky substance off his body. Together, they head toward the wall, hoping to retrieve the rope. Suddenly, screeches echo through the forest. Two hollow men appear, riding monstrous tree-like horses. The creatures charge, attacking with swords. One rider leaps at Dresa, but she stabs its neck and shoots it in the face. The second rider snatches Levi's rifle with a whip, leaving him unarmed. Levi draws his handgun and fires, killing both the rider and its horse in seconds. Afterward, Dresa checks her bag and realizes the auto-ascender is missing. It must have been lost in the river. The walls are too steep to climb, trapping them in the gorge. Dresa suggests following the river, believing it must lead somewhere. Levi inspects the fallen rider's uniform. It's military, old, and tattered. This confirms the hollow men were once real soldiers. They continue through the forest, passing hundreds of skeletal remains. Eventually, they reach an abandoned town overtaken by mutated plants. Earthquake scars mark the ground and distant screeches warn of incoming monsters. They take refuge inside a ruined church filled with skeletons. Levi catches a sharp scent, cyanide. The townspeople chose death over the horrors of this place. Inside, they discover a long-forgotten building completely overtaken by mutated plants. As they go deeper, they realize this used to be a military lab. Inside the lab, they find skeletons scattered across the floor and a dusty generator sitting in the corner. Dresa flips the switch, and the lights flicker on with a low hum. Levi spots an old reel and loads it into the projector. The film begins, showing a scientist speaking directly to the camera. She says it's 1946 and explains that this place was part of a secret multinational coalition formed during the final years of World War II. Their mission was to develop biochemical missiles. But 6 days before the recording, an earthquake triggered a chemical leak. At first, exposure didn't seem dangerous, but over time it began to change the researchers too. The woman lifts her shirt to reveal twisted branches growing from her abdomen. Since then, the team had been working non-stop to contain it, but it was already too late. The toxin mutated local plants and animals, and with time, it began affecting the scientists too, mutating them into something unrecognizable. Fortunately, the toxin stayed trapped inside the gorge. In another room, Levi wipes the dust off a computer from the 2000s, which means that even after the first disaster, people came back and kept the project going, long after the first team was gone. Levi boots up the computer and quickly finds out the truth. This whole place belongs to a private paramilitary group called Darklake. The drone they saw the other day was collecting samples for Darklake's experiments, which are trying to create super soldiers. The towers and the hired guards help them keep the secret. In the computer, Levi also finds an explanation for the stray dog protocol, which turns out to be a nuclear bomb that will sterilize the area if a leak happens. As the duo makes their way out, Levi tells Drasa that coming to this mission was worth it because he got to meet her. They open the door together and toss a smoke grenade before stepping into the chaos. Drasa spots her lost gear pack and moves to retrieve it, but it's a trap. A rope lashes out, snaring her ankle and dragging her away. Suddenly, a larger Hollow Man's whip coils around her, yanking her violently into the woods. As the rider takes her through the forest, Drasa tries cutting the whip with her knife, but she accidentally crashes against a tree and drops it. She also tries shooting, but she can't aim correctly when she keeps getting hit by rocks and logs. Meanwhile, Levi follows the trail and ends up at a hidden facility buried deep in the forest. Inside, he finds the nuclear bomb and the final boss. The Hollow Man has hung Drasa and turns the branch stuck in her stomach to torture her before taking it out. But Drasa doesn't fold. She kicks him in the chest, untangles the ropes holding her up, and crashes down to the floor. The Hollow Boss comes at her hard, and even the snake writhing in his chest joins the fight. She grabs the snake, rips it out, and cuts its head clean off. Then hurls the metal spike straight at the Hollow Man. The Hollow Man doesn't take much damage, but he's enraged. He starts chasing Drasa around the room, attacking her with his old sword. The fight is intense. The mutated monster swings wildly, almost decapitating her. Drasa fights back, grabbing a branch from the bonfire and lighting it to burn the creature, gaining the upper hand. Just as the Hollow Man yells in pain, Levi arrives and shoots him down. After a brief reunion, Levi inspects the creature and finds a name on the dog tag. It's the same soldier who first named the Hollow Men. Levi takes the sword from the creature's body and together they leave the room. They find the place where the toxin leak started. Mutated creatures are everywhere, cocooned and trapped in biomes created by the toxin. As they cross the bridge, the eerie faces in the goo breathes, sending shivers down their spines. Drasa accidentally steps on a root, causing bodies to fall and try to grab her. Levi quickly uses the sword to cut the roots and free her. Bigger creatures start to awaken, roaring loudly. As Levi clears the path, a goo whip grabs his ankle, making him fall. Drasa fires a grenade to create a diversion, causing a massive explosion that engulfs the creatures in flames. The fire spreads quickly through the goo, and the duo runs to the stairs to escape. They find an old garage with military jeeps and spend some time fixing one up. After driving through the vast military facility, they reach the broken rope. Levi ties the rope to the jeep while Drasa covers him, shooting at the approaching Hollow Men. When she runs out of ammo, they switch places. Once the jeep is ready, they start ascending the wall. Things go smoothly until they realize the Hollow Men are climbing after them. They kick one off, and Levi begins using the sword to take down more creatures. Drasa grabs an axe from the toolbox and starts fighting too. Levi pushes one of the monsters against the jeep's wheels, while Drasa kills another that lands on the front window. A Hollow Man jumps on Levi, trying to push him off. He manages to grab onto the jeep at the last moment, but ends up hanging from it. He stabs the gas tank, climbs back up, lights a flare, and throws it at the creatures. The flare mixes with the leaking propane, causing a huge explosion that takes down all the monsters but also blows up the jeep. Unfortunately, Levi breaks his leg when he hits the wall. With the top in sight, they decide to cut the rope and let the jeep fall on the remaining Hollow Men. Afterward, the duo climbs the rest of the way and returns to Drasa's tower. While tending to their wounds, they decide to stay apart for a week as quarantine in case they're infected. If they've been infected, they'll act accordingly. They then raise a toast to their survival. Levi insists he wasn't lying before about not making a record shot in Yemen. Drasa says she knows because she was the sniper. Levi is stunned. The truth is, they chose him and the other guards because they were expendable. They had no family, no ties, no real reason to live beyond their duty. But now, everything has changed for him. He has found a reason, something worth fighting for. Together, they plan to escape, to tear down the gorge, not just for themselves, but for every past and future guard who has been used to serve the interests of a corrupt corporation. At dawn, Levi is ready to go. They share a kiss, and Levi confesses his love for her, to which she says, "Don't say goodbye." Using a grappling gun, he jumps back to his tower to perform the radio check-in. But instead of the usual operator, Levi is picked up by Bartholomew, who knows the lab computer was turned on. She asks a few questions, to which Levi denies. Since Levi denies going into the gorge, Bartholomew assumes Drasa did, so Levi's new mission is to kill her. She explains her motivations.
Levi,
Do you know what kind of work I do here?
let's just say the primary aim of our research is to make American ground forces unbeatable.
Against any foreign army in the world.
Levi pretends to agree before the call ends. It's then revealed that the lab computer had a camera, and Bartholomew knows both soldiers were down there. She calls her mercenary chief to assemble a team and prepare to visit the gorge. The next morning, while the snipers prepare their mines, Drasa writes, "I love you back" to Levi. At that moment, they hear a helicopter approaching, and they immediately start running through the forest in opposite directions. When the soldiers land, they find the towers empty. Bartholomew checks through Levi's things, then orders drones to be deployed, starting a chase. The drones quickly spot the fugitives. At 2 kilometers now, they keep running. Levi checks the distance on his analog band and the direction on his compass, 3.5 kilometers away. The drones approach and open fire, but Levi and Drasa shoot them down one by one, though they take a few hits. One of the drones reaches Levi halfway and fires. A tree crashes down toward him, but at the very last second, he drops it with several shots. As for Drasa, 2 drones spot her despite her sprint through the forest, compass in hand, searching for the perfect vantage point. Hidden behind a tree, her instincts kick in. With one deadly burst, she shoots them both down. They come crashing spectacularly behind her. Further on, Levi shoots down a last drone with his rifle. Once they reach the planned high points, they take sniper positions. Drasa aims her scope toward Bartholomew but doesn't have the right angle. Levi and Drasa take a deep breath before shooting the cloakers. The mines they planted earlier create a chain reaction, taking down all the cloakers. With the cloakers gone, the gorge is exposed, triggering the stray dog protocol. Within 3 minutes, Bartholomew and her team rush to the helicopter while Levi and Drasa run as hell. Inside the helicopter, chaos breaks out. The nuclear bomb detonates, flattening everything in its path. The blast sends the helicopter spiraling, crashing into the gorge below. At the same moment, Levi, injured in the leg, runs as far as he can, but is thrown by the explosion. At the last moment, he falls off the cliff into a river. Drasa, far from the blast zone, hides in a cave to wait for Levi. After a month with no word from him, Drasa mourns, holding a note from Levi just in case he doesn't make it. She decides to leave alone. Later, in April, along the beautiful Côte d'Azur in France, Drasa now works as a waitress. One day, she's shocked to find Levi sitting at a table holding a note written on a napkin, ordering rabbit pie. Drasa is moved and approaches him, teasing that he's terribly late. Finally reunited, they joke about their records, with Levi pretending he beat her with that shot from 3,900 meters, before cuddling up and sharing a French kiss.